Hi, it's Laura with Following the Paper Trail, and it's the 12th day of Christmas projects. This is the last day of 2024 Christmas projects, though chances are pretty high I might do a couple of bonus ones, but that's not like going to be specifically tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day kind of thing, but I probably will do at least 2, maybe 3. We'll see. Anyway, but I have been having such a great time doing some YouTube videos again that I probably will keep doing some. As I had mentioned with so many of the books that we've been making during these 12 days, because it kind of turned into, it wasn't what I started out doing, but it did kind of turn into more about, binding and making books than anything else. So I have all these new books now ready to start embellishing and that sort of thing. So I think we will continue doing that. And I'm inclined to do more of the videos versus doing some live stream. So I might do an occasional live stream here and there, but I think we'll probably, as we move into 2025, start doing some more. As I think I said in the very first video, one of the things I've missed by not doing as much with either the live streams or the videos recently is that creating that sense of community and everybody kind of coming together. We had such a robust group of people back in those kind of the heydays of my live streaming and YouTube era, so to speak. And I miss that. And so I think trying to come back to that will be great for me, but I also hope that it gives some benefits to all of you as well. And kind of in keeping with that, I have yet another little book to do. And given that today is December 13th, which is Taylor Swift's birthday, it seemed to make sense to have a little friendship bracelet on the front of this book. I've been a Swiftie for many years now. My daughter and I have been to 2 of her concerts. We tried to see her both here in Seattle and in Vancouver, but during the Eras tour, but that just, like so many, that was an impossible dream to get a hold of those. But Sarah and I have been to both her Red tour back when Sarah had just turned 13. And then we also saw her 1989 tour in New York, which was a fun experience as well. So, and I love her music. I love her creativity and her, I was moving something, and her songwriting. So this is, it just seemed like since today was her birthday, doing a book with a little friendship bracelet for friends on it was appropriate. This little book uses I covered a book with some fabric and stuff, but this one kind of, you access the pages slightly differently in that they spin out and then they are, again, a whole nother book to decorate. It's got a combination of vintage papers and some scrapbooking paper and some plain colored cardstock paper. And so it's just a combination of all of those in this book in kind of a fun color palette. So, and then this just spins, and it has this little guy in here so to help pull it out. So this goes on top. This helps to pull it out, and then it has the tie on it. So what inspired this is a couple of keychains, one of which, this is my mom's, and I found it in her. My mom always had a jewelry, I'll try not to get super emotional about this, but she always had a jewelry box, and in her jewelry box, she had this little jar that I can remember for as long as I can remember. And in that little jar, I found this keychain. It had her name was Lois Ann. So it had her initials on it. It probably had her initial of her maiden name on there at one point, because it looks like there would be room for 3 initials. But it had this little key on here, and this is, yellowed with age, because good Lord, who knows how old this thing might be. Because like I said, I can remember it for as long as I can remember. But this key just kind of rotated out. And then in some of my vintage store digging for things, I found this. This got these really cool old keys on it. But I found this nifty little thing on this keychain for the keys, that it was a little address book that fit inside of this little plastic book-like structure. So I'd been trying to figure out how I can make some sort of structure like this that was rigid. Then I realized it really doesn't have to be. I can just use a regular book and do the same sort of thing. So between this thing and then this key that rotates out, it was like, we got to make this into a book. So I'm going to kind of take the book apart. Now I just glued this little flower on here, so I don't want to be careful. And what I've used here is just your traditional little, if you're doing a traditional scrapbook, these are the pins, and you can put any combination to get them as long as you need them to be. And they have a little bolt that goes on the other end as well. So these are the pins for traditional 12 by 12 scrapbooks. You can get these things, these little pin things, at any of the big box stores or any store that carries traditional 12 by 12 scrapbooks that are pin based. So you can go to any of the big box, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joann's, all of them do have these, and that's where you can get them. So, and it's going to have you're going to punch a hole in both the front covers, and then I have in here, and they're a little snug on here, but I have 4. They spin this way just fine. It's really easy, but getting them on and off is more challenging. But these are 4 what is essentially kind of matchbook bound. I don't want to tear them, so I'm being real careful. Come on. It's getting caught on the joint. That's what was happening. There's a joint to make this the right thickness. So see, here's the little screw on the back side, and I have 2 pieces screwed together. And so there are 4 little matchbook style. So I have, these are individual sheets. They're not folded over because I didn't want the extra thickness. And then they just have some fabric over the top, and they're stitched. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 holes. So I came up, tied a knot, went down, up, and tied a knot again. So it's got the 3 little holes on the back. And there's 4 of these. And again, these just have a variety of papers in them. Excuse me. And then I had to do some repair work on this vintage book of the spine, and I wanted the spine pretty rigid, so I put a piece of chipboard in the center, and then it's had some tape on it, but things were catching on this. This is my hockey stick tape, for those of you who've been around for a while, but it was catching on it, so I wanted some super smooth paper. So I put this on so that these could rotate and slide in and out. Then that's the only reason I have that in here. Now these ties are for the tie to hold the book closed, and this tie is on here, so it's just kind of got a little hole, and I stitched it on with that. So, and what this is for is that when it goes in, and this gives you a way to pull so that you're not having to dig down in the book to pull them out. So once these are all hooked together, then you can put the stem of the pin into the hole on the back. Oh, these are much easier to do the second time around. They were a challenge the first time because they're snug, because the hole punch that I have that would punch my, you know, these guys have only 2 sizes, and this bigger one is about the same size as the pins. So it was a little bit on the snug side. But once they're on, then it's spun just fine. So, of course, then before I put the top on, I don't want them all crammed down super tight on the pin. So I want to kind of spread them out just a hair. Let's see how they're on there. And then this hole on here, I'm going to swing it over and hook it on so that I can then put the screw on the outside. And I glued one of the little Fimo clay whoops, and it's coming unglued. I need it to dry overnight, so I have to re-glue it. Anyway, so that hooks everybody in, and I didn't put this in. So if you don't have that, so I can spin it out. So this guy needs to, you hold it up on the top and then just let it slide as you put it in so that you can then grab this and it helps pull your book pages out. So then they can just rotate at 90 degrees and then you're able to go through the book. The beauty of this, as I have made the point several times, is by taking it off of the post, I can have these 4 little signatures out individually to work on the pages and then reassemble the book back together. So I don't have to do it in the book while the cover is, you know, it's rotated out from the cover. You can also just completely turn it around this way and go through all the different pages throughout the book. And then, again, let's get that tie out of the way. All these ties are in here. Let's slip that. It's not so bad when you're just doing it, but when I'm trying to show it. So this is the one that I want when I'm sliding this guy's in. It lays on the top, kind of help to guide it so that it stays around it, because that is what gives you the way to pull it out. So then I can tie this like so and have a nice tidy little journal. Now on these pages that are in here, I'm probably not going to do a lot of, I'm not going to do much in the way of adding thickness, but it is down at this end. There's plenty of room for it to expand out if these pages get a little bit thicker, but I want to be conscious of not adding too much. And if it gets to where they get really thick, I may eliminate one of the 4 signatures that I put in there. But it all is dependent upon the size of the book cover that you are using. You could also make your own book cover, because I completely just covered this book. So I could have easily have just made an entire book from chipboard. But anyway, it's just super fun and super easy. As many matchbook style signatures as you need. And it's going to feel unusual in that you're punching a hole in them on the right side. You know, we're so used to in this hemisphere of doing everything, you know, opening from the left. So putting that on the right is kind of strange. And then you just open it up and pull your little thread to get your little ribbon to get it out. And there is how you look inside your book. Again, lay this on top. Spin these guys around, tie it, and it's nice and tidy and neat. So, fun little project. Again, inspired by a couple of, I just love this for putting on for an address book. This little vintage one, and the one that was from my mama. This is from a suitcase. So, but like I said, God, I can remember this as long as I can remember. So anyway, fun book, fun finish to a 12 days of the Christmas projects with my friends. And I thank you for joining me once again. This has been just a really great time showing you some new ideas, also taking some of the old ideas and bringing them forward some of them as many as 15 years, and reimagining them in ways that we can use them in journaling, which seems to be the popular kind of thing right now over scrapbooking. But also in the coming year, like I said, I want to be starting to do some more videos. I do have a project group coming up in my mind, and I'm not going to announce it just yet. It'll probably be after the first of the year. But those of you who've been wanting some 3D things, I think you'll be pleased. But I also want to continue with the journaling, also taking some of my older scrapbook album pages and such and showing how you can integrate those in with the journaling, as journaling seems to be, you know, the junk journals, the art journals seems to be kind of the medium that a lot of people prefer right now over the mini albums. I haven't really looked heavily into if there are still people doing much in the way of mini albums. But I do know that junk journaling and art journals are definitely the thing that a lot of people are doing right now. I'm also incorporating some of my textiles, as I'm going to be continuing my fabric fodder after the first of the year. I think I have 12 videos from that I started this summer, and it's kind of, I've got all the basics of how you can, you know, paint and that sort of thing on stenciling and faux rust and all that sort of thing. I think there's like 12 videos right now in the fabric fodder, and I'm going to be continuing on that. But what I want to do is, now that we kind of got the basic techniques out of the way with that, I want to continue on with that and kind of showing you using it in projects and that sort of thing. So I'm going to be doing some journaling. I'm going to be doing some fabric. I'll be incorporating some of my quilting stuff into my books more frequently. I have some 3D projects coming up, and I'm just stoked because this is probably the strongest I have felt creatively in about 5 years. So I'm pacing myself so that I don't push myself too hard to where the burnout comes back. But I recognize the signs of that now. And so I'll kind of police myself a little bit in that regard. But anyway, I'm hoping in the future that you join me. And there may still, like I said, be a few more videos before the holidays. I'm seriously thinking of doing a New Year's Day, possibly a live stream. After, you know, we used to do those New Year's Eve bashes where we would ring in the new year here in the US across the multiple time zones. Those were wild times. I remember a couple times we had over 1,000 people on those streams. That was such crazy times. Don't get that many these days, but anytime I do a live stream, it's always recorded, so you can always go back and watch the recording. So if you're on my YouTube channel, if you're new, if you go to where it says lives, you'll find all of those live streams, because I went through, you know, I did YouTube videos very early on when I first started in 2009 until I want to say about 2010. I started doing, there was 3 of us who kind of started doing some streaming classes on Ustream, and it was crazy times. You know, I had cameras perched on boxes and that sort of thing. That's why if you go watch some of those old videos, they're a little bit rough. And so then I was doing live streams for positively years, and not as many of the YouTube videos, but all of those live stream videos are on my website until, let's see, I think it was in 2017. Then we switched over to YouTube Live because Ustream was going wonky. So then we did YouTube Live. So anything from 2017, I think, is there. Excuse me, I'm not super positive about that. But I love doing the videos a little more than the live streams, because I can kind of do it when my schedule, it fits in my schedule. But I do on occasion want to do some live streams. I'm also potentially doing a subscription thing on my website that was Patreon-like. I had a Patreon for a while. I didn't quite do it the way I really needed to be doing it. And so I shut that one down. And it seems crazy to pay Patreon when I could do the exact same thing on my website. So stay tuned for that. The other thing I'm really looking to try to start keeping up with is my newsletter after the first of the year, to do that at least once a month. Don't hold me to that. But I'm going to be trying to do that. So anyway, I got some big plans for the new year. But again, I'm going to kind of hold myself back just a bit so that I don't overdo. But I'm excited to be doing stuff again with a lot of you, and I look forward to sharing. So if you don't see me again before the holiday, for those of you who celebrate, have a super Merry Christmas, and I really hope to see you again in the new year, because I think we're all going to just want to kind of come together and have some place to not have to pay attention to the outside world. That's what my plan is. So anyway, hopefully I'll see you after the first year. And until then, have a happy holiday season. And I look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thanks a bunch.